What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is ASA Studio channel for photographers. Today it's another awesome tutorial and we're going to be showing you how to retouch your images in Capture One. I've been doing a lot of Photoshop videos, but I thought about how about Capture One. Let me show you how to edit in Capture One. Now in this video I'm going to be showing you most especially how to balance your skin color and how to adjust your skin texture so that you can actually remove all the blemishes and all the rashes, and also you can also work on the image and the background non-destructively in Capture One. It just gives you a wide workflow, or I don't know how to put it, but it gives you plenty of option you can actually use in editing your images. Alright, so let's get started. Now if you come in Capture One, if you open Capture One, you have this, apart from the background layer, which is the photo of the model, it has the ability to add new layers just like Photoshop, and you can actually, instead of working directly on the image, you can work on those layers. You can turn them on, you can turn them off. So I'm going to add new fill layer because I want to make this affect the image, and the adjustment I want to do on this is white balance adjustment. So I'll just go to the white balance under the white. If you can't see the white balance, you can see it under color. Also it's also under color white balance, it's also under exposure white balance. Alright, so pick up this one. Now it is as short, you can change it to auto or whichever one you want. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up the white balance and I'm going to click where it's supposed to be white. So in this case, we can choose the eyeball somewhere around here, and you can see how it changes the image. So let's see before and then after. Alright, so this is the first thing we are going to do. Okay, so now after that, let's try and balance the skin color or the skin tone. So create an empty layer, and this time around name it skin. Just follow up. This is how to fix it. Take up the magic brush and I'm going to select. Let's right click and see the tolerance. I'm going to leave the tolerance and I'm going to increase the refine edge so as to make it blend well with the selection. Okay, so I'm going to select a face, and please don't actually make it affect the highlight. The highlight is very important, otherwise the image will look very flat. So I'm going to wait till Capture One gets us the selection. Now Capture One, I've selected the collection, and you can see that this part is not actually selected. I can actually add this place to width by drawing close and places that are not added. So let's see what Capture One does. That's added it for us. We can also add this point and add this point. Now let's take our eraser tool and erase it from the head, because we're going to work on the hair separately. I'm going to make it bigger, and then I'm going to remove it just from the hair, just like that. You can leave it in some parts, doesn't matter anyway. So just do what's actually best for the photo. I'm going to leave it that way for the now. Okay, so let's go hit M back on the keyboard, go to the color. The color is right here. This one is exposure, this is color, and under the color, let's close the white balance and go to color editor, and you can pick, yours could be here, but change it to skin tone, and then pick the eyedropper tool. And now this is very important step. You need to choose where you want the skin tone to look like. Now if I zoom in, I don't like all this red. I want the skin to look more like a cheek right here. So I'm going to select the cheek, and you can see that it's actually selected in this circle the skin places of the skin tone. If it's actually a black skin, it's actually going to fall within this range, but this is the first skin which contains yellow and orange, okay, and little of red. So I'm going to go back to the uniformity tab. I'm going to increase it, and you can actually see what's happening. So you see that it's actually adjusting the color. You can see before and then after. Now if you take it to the extreme, all right, so we continue. Now the next thing is to actually, I don't want to lose the what's it called, the makeup on our face, and you can see that it actually changed some places. But let's go on. I'm going to pick up the brush tool, and I'm going to hit M on the keyboard, and this time around I'll keep hitting M and checking for where I don't want the effect to show. I don't want to change the photo, so I'm going to erase it from this place just like that, and erase it from this place just like that. Okay, so from our lips, make it smaller. I'm gonna erase it each time on the keyboard, erase it from our lips, and also from this place. So I guess that's okay. Let's go. I'm gonna right click and make it smaller, the hardness. Okay, all right, so let's check on our skin, turn it off, hit the mask tool. Okay, so somewhere around there I'm going to turn it back on, and I'm just going to remove it just a bit from there, and let's see, just a bit from here. Okay, so that's just the effect of what I want to get. So I'm just going to right click again and make the hardness very small. Okay, so we're just going to make it look real. So that's the aim of the, I don't want to lose those texture, and also I mean the colors. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead, still on the uniformity tab. I'm going to crank up the saturation to even out the saturation the more. I'm going to take this back a little, and I'm going to hit up the saturation to make it even, and we can check there from this side. Let's turn it off and on. So saturation even 74, 76. I'm not going to touch the lightness. I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to saturate it a little. And also the hue, if you take it back, works for black skin, take it forward, works for yellow skin. So I'm going to take it all the way up to make everything so uniform. All right, so now that we have that, we can actually create another layer and work on the hair separately. So let's go to new empty layer, and then pick up the magic tool brush, and this time around I'm going to select just the hair alone, somewhere around. I'm actually just drawing, so let's see where capture one selects for us. Okay, so now capture one has selected the hair. I'm also going to add some places that didn't add to the selection, so somewhere around there. Okay, and if you feel like you want to leave it, you can actually leave it. So now the reflection of the air also is also affecting the shadow, so that is why it's actually reflecting, or we have shadows selecting the part that is not actually supposed to select. So let's name this one air and hit enter, and this time we'll go to the same color. Let's close this color editor and pick on this sampler to hit M on the keyboard. And let's say we want the hair to look like this. So I'm going to pick that, and let's increase the uniformity first of all of the hue, and the saturation. You can imagine, just take a look at what happened there. So you can see the before. Take a look at this side and the other side, so you can see. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can see before, you can see some red and the rest, and the variation in hair color, but now it's actually the same. So that's one way. All right, so if you say you want to make the hair less saturated, you can actually take it back, but I guess that it's too much for it, so I'm going to leave it like this because it's actually making it, you know, pop out the more. So I'm leaving it like this, and we can actually bring down the lightness too. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to click on this draw healing tool marks, or you can use the clone stamped tool marks, but I want the spot healing tool marks, and as you immediately you click where you want to adjust, is actually going to create a new one, a new layer for you. So I'm going to click here, and you can see that it's created a new hue layer. So it's actually optimizing the hue. So you just keep on, you know, clicking. So if I right click and I say show display arrows, you are going to see different arrows shown. So once the arrow is too much, actually you can, you know, turn it off. So I'm just clicking there to hue. So I don't want too many brush arrows and the rest that is actually using, so I don't want too much. You can actually move it around like so. It's going to be changing, so I'm going to turn it off, right click and say display arrows, so I can work on other areas. Alright, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to come back. Alright, so I've done some healing, and you can see before and after, so this is just like a frequency separation in Photoshop. Alright, so last one, or second to the last, create another empty layer, and this time I'm going to affect the background. So I'm going to select the background because I've selected the magic tool brush. So I'm just going to select the background, and we're going to work on it separately. So let's wait for Capture One to select it. So Capture One has selected the background. I'm just going to add some few more of those background. So let's make the refined edge larger, and let's just select something like that, and select more. Okay, so that looks fine to me. I'm going to select this outside the box, and boom. Okay, so I'm going to just do Ctrl Z and leave it the way it is. Okay, hit M on the keyboard and go to the exposure. So under the exposure, I want to decrease the white, decrease the highlight, decrease the shadows, and decrease the blacks. Okay, so one thing I want you to notice is the way I want to bring out the subject from the background. I want to separate it. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's try and remove the clarity first of all and bring down the structure. So bring down the saturation a bit, and the brightness is what is actually going to make it pop out, so it looks like the image is far. Don't touch the exposure because the exposure is not going to make things look real. So I'm just going to bring back the brightness, and that should be fine. Okay, unless you want to make it darker, something like this, but I don't want it so dark. I would just want it to a little bit saturated. You can increase the saturation. Let's even increase the saturation. I feel like I love it with the saturation, although we can adjust that, but let's see. Let's increase the saturation and decrease the brightness a little. Alright, now I'm going to work on the teeth. So grab a new adjustment layer and let's select the teeth. Let's see what can be done on the teeth. Alright, so I've selected the teeth. You can see right here. So we can hit M on the keyboard. So now we can actually, let's name it teeth and eyes, whitening. Anyhow, just spell it anyhow. No, that's whitening. That's what I mean. Okay, so now go to the exposure DS, and then we're going to tone down the saturation of it, and you see, boom, that's just fixed the image with white, makes it white. Don't turn it all the way down, it's not gonna look fake. It's gonna look fake, so just a little bit, and that is it. You can increase the brightness if you want, but I think that's going to look fake the more. So now that we've sort that out, let's create another adjustment layer, and you can also make the air black. Let's even try it. This is the air. So if we decrease the saturation, you can see that it's actually going to turn it to something darker, but I guess we're going to leave it. Photoshop is going to do that easily, just decreasing the saturation of the air, and then boom. Alright, so after that, I'm going to create another adjustment layer. This one, I'm going to create it a new fill layer. Alright, so on the new fill layer, we're going to be doing the last adjustment, and this time around, I'm going to increase the highlight first of all, so as to get more details in the highlights. You can also increase the bright side, something like that, and let's see about decreasing. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's bring up the shadows a little bit. Yeah, so that looks awesome to me and reveals so many parts of the image. Okay, so just make the image look real. Alright, so I'm gonna drop this one. I'm just gonna increase a little bit of the saturation, drop it back, and go to the clarity, and I'm gonna push up the clarity a little bit, just 10, and that's actually good for me. Okay, so we can also select again and work on the skin. So go to empty adjustment layer, and this time I'm going to select just the skin, or you can clone the area of the skin. This is the skin, right? Selection of the skin, M. Okay, so I'm just going to clone this one. So just come here and drop down new clone layer, and it's going to clone that. Okay, so you can see that it's actually cloning that one. and we don't know the adjustment that is being made to it, so I'm just going to delete it, and then I'm going to create it myself, new fill layer, and this time I'm going to make it affect just the skin alone. So let's select the skin, just select the skin randomly, boom. Alright, so now I've selected the skin again. Okay, so let's go to the color, and I'm going to go to the basic tab, just as if you're doing some color grading. Okay, so under the yellow, or you can just pick on this one and then it's going to sample it for you. You can increase the saturation of that, not too much. I don't want that too much. Yeah, so something, I want it to look real though. Let's go to the yellows and let's see saturation. The yellows, I guess is the red then. So color grading is actually more easier in Photoshop, so I'm going to leave it like this, or I can dye 5 from it, and boom, we're done. Okay, so we can actually change the hue of the orange to somewhere reddish like this, so as to make it look real. You can also increase the saturation of that. Okay, so now that we have our image, let's see our before and then our after. So look at before and then look at after, before and after. Okay, so you can also add some vignette. So I'm just going to create a new fill layer again and go to the exposure, and we could see some vignette here. So taking it back, create white, I guess. Okay, just taking it back, create white. So I don't want white, I want just a little bit of vignette from the back, not to cover the face too much. Alright, so that's for levels. I guess there's nothing else to do for the levels. It's just to bring this one towards this side, and you can see it's actually clipping right there. Alright, so that's actually okay for me. So let's see our before and then our after, before and after. Alright, so if you learned something new in this video, kindly hit the like button and kindly subscribe. Once again, this is Asa, seeing you in our next video. Thank you.